Good morning. We'll call the Kansas County Board of Commissioners meeting to order. We'll stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So, good morning, everyone, and all of those watching. And I hope everybody had a good Labor Day weekend. I don't think we could have ordered the weather any better than what we received, so that was cool. And hopefully, you had a relaxing and enjoyable weekend. So today we have pretty full agenda, but we've had worse. Put it that way. Last time I think was one of them. First item on the agenda is the consent items. You received those. Oh, first of all, I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved, Mr. Chair.
We have a motion. Commissioner Gardner moves to approve the agenda. Do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
Commissioner Dale Anderson seconds. And I'm going to remind all of us that I was going back to the recording, the YouTube. These mics don't pick up as good as the old ones did, and there was times it was a little difficult to hear what was being said. So, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Both same sign. Motion carries. Next up is the consent agenda, and on the consent agenda we have the approval of the August 20th, 2024 board legal minutes and the approval of the auditor's warrants and claims. I would entertain a motion for the consent agenda.
I'll make that motion, Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Dwayne Anderson moves on the consent agenda. Do I hear a second?
Mr. Chair, I'll second.
Commissioner Berg seconds. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Both same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. First up on our general business discussions is a proposal from Jason Anderson Consulting. Caroline Kahn, good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Good morning, Commissioners. Caroline Kahn, Health and Human Services Director for Ojai County. This morning, I'd like to present to you a contract to partner with Jason Anderson to provide motivational interview training to our children's team within our Health and Human Services Department. This contract would be funded through our Family First Prevention Services allocation for 2024. These prevention services allocation can be used to support our local welfare agency to develop and implement prevention strategies that are identified within Minnesota's Title IV Prevention Services 5-year plan. These funds can be used for things such as prevention of children into the child welfare system, further involvement with the child welfare system, and then family preservation. One of the areas in which has been approved to utilize these funds is the inclusion of motivational interview training for staff. The state has identified certain partners that are available to partner with in order to provide this specific training, and our team really favored the idea of bringing someone in to provide in-person training versus doing online modules. We feel that we'll get a better experience and a better learning process by doing that. So a little bit about motivational interviewing, if that's not something that you are currently familiar with. It's a client-centered counseling approach designed to enhance motivation and commitment to change. It focuses on exploring and resolving ambivalence through open-ended questions, reflective listening, and affirmations. In children's services work, training and motivational interviewing can significantly improve interactions with children and family by fostering a collaborative and empathetic environment. It helps our staff engage with families in discussion about change, build trust, and support them in setting and achieving goals. So before you would be our partnership request to partner with Jason Anderson. He has worked with many other counties to provide this similar training. And the hope through this project would be to help train trainers. So we will then have staff within our department that can help continue the growth and evolution of motivational interviewing within our department outside of our children's team at some point. This motivational interviewing will also be tied to future 4E funding as a requirement going forward into 2025. So we will have to partner in providing some sort of motivational interviewing in order to capture that in the future as well. Another benefit of partnering with Jason is that he will listen to our audio recordings with our staff and provide individualized feedback. So much different than if you were to attend, say, a seminar or do online training. He's really going to provide that individualized feedback for our team. So we're very excited about being able to do that. So One thing I would like to note is that after we submitted this to the board agenda, we did have some further conversations and realized that we could put this all into this year's allocation funding versus um, next year's to maximize that allocation stewardship. So we would like to request a modification from what you see in the packet today for those payment terms to be an upfront within this budget year, so we maximize the opportunity within this allocation.
So you've heard the recommendation from staff. I'd entertain a motion to approve resolution 2024-24.
Mr. Chair, I so move to approve the contract.
Commissioner Berg moves on resolution 2024-24. Do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
Commissioner Dwayne Anderson seconds. Any discussion? So, go ahead.
No, no.
You go ahead.
Oh, there's a couple, there's so many pieces to it. Looks like very well done and good planning to get in this year yet. The trainer event too. I think that's so important. Who's all involved in that? Does that be the supervisors or?
So supervisors will be a part of the training. At this point, we're going to keep it open to seeing who, so that we attend that first workshop, and then we'll help identify who our strong trainers might be from that after they get a little bit more in depth. A few of our staff, it's a growth opportunity for them. So we've had a few step forward and already say they would be interested in that. We certainly want somebody that has the passion to want to be an educator and continue this forward. So there's a few people that have submitted interest, but it'll probably come down to about 4 that will be the trainers moving forward. And if a supervisor wants to be part of that 4, we would entertain that as well.
May I follow up, please?
Please.
Yeah. Forgot my question for a second. Oh, what other counties are using the Anderson constant?
Yep. So some other partners, other counties would be Wright County, Stearns County, and Crow Wing County would be a few of the counties that have already done this specific plan. Wright County specifically has done this train the trainer event and has had really positive feedback from participating in this comprehensive versus just doing 2 individual workshops.
Commissioner Dwayne
Now,
Anderson.
Mr. Chair, I just want a point of clarity. Commissioner Berg said resolution 24 or 2024-24. Is that Shane Baker's issue? Or I mean, I think we're kind of jumping ahead.
Yeah.
We need a motion for the
mixing the two
contract,
up.
I believe. Just to clarify that it is that resolution, it's the contract for Jason Anderson.
Yeah, I think I moved the contract.
Okay. It was my mistake. I brought up the resolution, so
Okay.
thank you for that clarification. So, any other questions? I was wondering, when you said move it forward into 2024 versus waiting for 2025, does that mean we can reapply for additional funding?
We'll have
if this
allocation.
has been finished?
So we'll have allocation funding in 2025 as well, but we have space within our 2024 budget to submit a budget revision to capture this entire piece to then make sure that the entire allocation is open in 2025 versus sending portions of our 2024 allocation back to the state. There's only certain areas in which you can utilize this funding. And we've already maximized the opportunity to utilize it in all of the other areas, such as expanding our PSOP program that we brought forward a few months ago, concrete supports for families, and then our in-home family-based services are some of the other areas. But now that we are at this point of the year, the likelihood of using this much by the end of the year without prepaying for this type of training would indicate that we would have some sent back. So in order to maximize that and then have the full allocation available in 2025.
Yep.
So then that would be a different, because right now in the contract, it says payment monthly as services rendered. So we would be requesting to bring that change in the contract.
Okay. Any other questions? So I know what happened. I touched on the link and I touched the one below instead of.
That's just fine.
So we have a motion. We should probably restate the motion because I said the resolution. So I would entertain a motion to accept the services of Jason Anderson Consulting.
Mr. Chair, I so moved to approve this contract.
And I'll second that.
Commissioner Gardner moves, Commissioner Anderson seconds. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now we go to the next item on the agenda, which is the Victim Services Grant. Mr. Baker,
That's correct. This is resolution 24-24 is for accepting.
Attorney Baker, can you state your name for the record?
That's correct. Shane Baker, Canyon County Attorney. Moving for adoption of resolution 24-24 Victim Services Grant. This is a grant we've received since October of 2017. Two parts of the resolution are: one, accepting the grant. Second part is authorizing me or my designee to sign any related agreements or amendments. The amount for this year that would end September 30th, 2025 is $80,154. And we use that funds to help pay for one of the victim services coordinators and some direct client assistance. Direct client assistance not available otherwise because that goes to private individuals. So I need that grant to be able to make those payments.
Can you expound a little bit just about what might entail victim services and what was the other thing you said?
It's the personnel cost for the position.
Okay.
And
So what kind of services would be provided?
They reach out to victims, receive their input on what should happen in a criminal case. They provide them their rights.
So the victims of crimes.
Victims of crimes, yeah. This is a crime service.
So you've heard, now I'd entertain a motion for resolution 2024-2020 or -24.
Mr. Chair, I also move on resolution 2024-24.
Commissioner Dale Anderson moves on resolution 2024-2024. Do I hear a second?
I'll second that, Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Dwayne Anderson seconds. Holy cats, we got a lot of doubles up here. So, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Oh, wait a minute. Wait. Any comments or questions? Commissioner Burke.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, just a quick question. Has the state, on these grants we've been receiving over the years, have they provide adequate inflation increases with the grants?
No, last time it was open last time around the first grant we received was $70,000. It was open for a competitive grant only this last cycle, and they awarded again $70,000. I think they were more interested in expanding the jurisdictions that had options. There's increased legislative funding this last session, and that's why the amount bumped up to $80,154.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. All right. Next up, Denise Cragenbring, Public Health, Infectious Disease Report, and I believe there's a video that will be.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Denise Kragenbring. I'm one of the supervisors in public health here in Candioi County. And I'm just here to give you just a little bit of an update on infectious disease and to talk a little bit about how we communicate with our partners across our county, how MDH communicates with us, and then how we communicate with them. And it's something that we call HAN, or the Health Alert Network. So I am going to show you a short video from the Department of Health. It's only 2 minutes, so it's a pretty short one. We'll start with that.
How long will it take to test? Do we have any other cases? Who has been exposed? What dose should they use?
Sometimes bad things happen in Minnesota. When those things involve the health of lots of people, Minnesota has a system in place to quickly tell hospitals, clinics, and other partners what they need to know and how to take action. Minnesota's Health Alert Network, or HAN, is ready to distribute messages via email and fax to every corner of the state at a moment's notice. The Health Alert Network depends on people like you. Messages originate at MDH or the CDC and are first distributed to people at local and tribal health departments. They forward the message to their contacts at hospitals, clinics, and other organizations. Finally, the message is shared with doctors, nurses, and others who need it. If even one person doesn't pass along the message, people can get sick or die. If you have been asked to fill a role in the Health Alert Network, then we need your help with these 4 things. 1. Be able to quickly identify a health alert when it arrives in your inbox or fax machine. 2. Know how to acknowledge that you got the message and who to give it to next. 3. Have a backup plan for when you are out sick or on vacation. 4. Have a plan for those rare messages that arrive during evenings and weekends. If you have any questions, please contact your County Health Alert Network representative. We're here for you.
So that just gives you kind of an overview of what that looks like. So those are roles that we have in public health. So this is what a health alert looks like. So it comes, like it said in there, it comes via email to us. It has very specific instructions for whatever the situation might be. And so what we first do is acknowledge it, as they said there, and then we decide who it might go to. Most likely, we're sending it out to our medical providers within our county and our emergency managers. It goes out to, and all of our public health staff. So we have those lists and we maintain them constantly so that we make sure that we're able to get them out to all the people that we need to. So we have a whole grouping within our email system, within our health alert network. And we track that, we send them out, and we expect a response from folks, particularly our medical people, our central care folks, to make sure that it's reached the destination. And then they, as you saw in the video, then they send it out within their facilities to the appropriate folks. We also have a number of other lists. Should there be something that might be specific to veterinarians or maybe to dentists? It isn't just medical folks that you expect that we're sending information to. So we have a very large network of people that we keep updating and make sure that we have the right emails for folks. If they bounce back to us to a wrong address, then we know we have to figure that out and update our lists. So that's what the health alert looks like. Oftentimes it's starting at the level of CDC, or it might be starting with MDH. But that's how we work to get the communication out to all of our partners in Kandiyohi County. So far this year, we've had 15 health alerts. Typically, each year I do, this is one of the annual reports. You guys usually get this at the end of the year. But you can see last year in 2023, we only had 5. 2022, there was 12. Then you can see 2020 and 2021, a lot of that was COVID related, so 24 and 20. Again, like I said, we track the responses just to make sure. It used to be that was part of our emergency preparedness grant that we were required to track. That's not part of our grant duty anymore, but we decided it was an important thing, and we have continued to track that just to make sure that we're getting responses and that people are getting the information. We do have designated staff to do this. We're 4 deep in that. As they said, on a rare occasion, we could get one in the evening or the weekend, and we get the information as a text message on our phone. So I would get that on a weekend or after hours, and we would still be able to generate the information and get it off. It doesn't happen very often after hours, but it certainly can. Any questions on that part? Otherwise, I'm going to talk a little bit about infectious disease.
I didn't hear you mention school nurses, but I assume that they're part.
Yes, we have a list of the school nurses as well. If there's something that we feel is appropriate, we would include them. Yep.
And then recently, it's been in the news about the declining numbers of childhood immunizations. Does the health department keep track of that by school, by any chance? Do you know?
Yeah, I believe they do. Yes. I
You
think
would.
they do.
You must not get involved then if you don't.
No,
those
because
sort
the
of-
schools have to send reports to the state. So yes, I'm sure. I'm sure they do. I don't look specifically at schools. We look more at the county when we're looking for the data.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah. So what I wanted to spend some time on is measles. I'm thinking that maybe you have seen some of that in the news lately, that there have been some cases of measles in our state. Just a little bit about measles. It's highly infectious. It's very serious. It can lead to hospitalization and potentially death for children. The best protection is vaccination, so that's an important part of it. We've had a vaccine for measles since 1963, and it's very, very effective. Of all the vaccines out there, it's one of the most highly effective ones. Typically, a child will get their first vaccination against measles at the age of 1. There's 3 proponents to that vaccine. It's measles, mumps, and rubella. And they don't get it till they're 1 year of age, and the reason for that is because generally the mother's antibody will carry over to the infant, typically for about a year. Sometimes it can wane a little bit sooner than that, but that's the usual. So that's the reason why they don't get vaccinated until they're 1 year of age, and then they get a second one right before they go to school at the age of 5. But a little bit about its infectiousness. I mean, if a person was not protected, say they weren't vaccinated, and you are exposed to somebody, out of 10 people that were exposed, 9 people would get measles. It's that infectious, and it's airborne, and it can stay in a room for 2 hours. Like, say I come in here and I have measles, I've exposed all of you guys, I leave 2 hours. Anybody else who comes in here is going to be exposed and potentially get measles. So it's a highly infectious disease. Typically starts with a rash. I'm sorry, it doesn't start with a rash. It starts with a fever. The rash usually comes a few days later. And you can, what do I want to say? You're contagious even before some of the symptoms appear. So it's kind of a scary thing if we don't have folks vaccinated. It can move through a community or an area rather quickly. So this year alone, there's been 34 cases of measles in our state. We're not aware of any in our county as of this point, which is a wonderful thing. But they are struggling a little bit in the Twin Cities. That's where all of the cases are right now. 33 of the 34 range in ages from 7 months to 9 years and are unvaccinated. So again, we need to look at the folks, and we need to continue to talk about getting vaccinated and make sure our kids are getting vaccinated. When I look at the most recent data for our county, for being up to date by the age of 2 with your measles vaccine, we're at about 80%. So we do have room to grow there. I mean, we have unvaccinated kids out there. So we do need to continue to talk about that. We at Public Health talk with our partners at CentraCare. I know they're working hard as well to make sure kids are getting up to date.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
That 80%, is that nationwide or is that just Minnesota or
That's Candioi County.
Candioi County? Okay.
And we're a little bit above the state. The state's at about, I think it's 78.8 or something like that. And we're just short of 80% here. So we're a little bit above the state, but we could be better. So one of the reasons I wanted to highlight that, just to make everybody aware of that, and that's why I brought up the whole health alert. So we have been getting health alerts about this. Right now, they're doing something a little bit different. Their recommendation in the Twin Cities is to accelerate those 2 doses a little bit. Like I said, typically you get your first dose at 1 year of age, your second dose when you're 5. What's being recommended right now for folks in some of those counties in the Twin Cities that are seeing these cases is to give that first dose at 1 year of age, and 28 days later or a month later, give the second dose. They're just accelerating it a little bit to help prevent any more spread. You look like you had a question, Corky. Yes?
Yeah, that's great.
That's okay.
Thank you.
You can ask.
Very perceptive. My question is, the 20% are not getting vaccinated. Any idea of why? And maybe you could share, if there's concern about a lot of people, or some people are not too excited about vaccinations.
Yeah.
And can you expound on that? How safe is this? How has it been studied? And I think you kind of alluded to it, that
Yeah.
it's been around for quite some time.
Yeah, like I said, that particular vaccine's been around for 50 years, and it is incredibly safe. Unfortunately, there has been information out there several years ago with potentially connecting the MMR to autism. That's all been debunked. There is no connection, but unfortunately, that still is in the minds of some folks. And there over the years, there's becoming more and more folks that are anti-vax, and I think we're seeing that across the country. We're seeing it in the state. We're seeing it in our county. We're all providers. We're doing our best to overcome some of that. I don't know. I can't explain why it's becoming more than there was in the past. Um, our recent experience with COVID, people are not as trusting anymore of vaccine with all the information that's been out there. So we have to continue to educate and to continue to tell people. Some parents, what we'll hear, and certainly we don't see as many in public health as our providers over at CentraCare do, but some parents are not necessarily anti-vax, but they don't necessarily like to give as many vaccines as the kids get through time. So they change the schedule a little bit. So maybe they're not getting them right on time, which might explain why some of them aren't quite up to date at the age of 2. They may get that vaccine, but they're pushing it down the years a little bit. So particularly with measles, we want to really encourage people as soon as that child turns 1 year of age, we really need to get them vaccinated against that one. There was a time when providers never saw a case of measles, and now it's coming back. Yeah. Any other questions on that? Otherwise, I was going to spend just a little bit of time on avian influenza. I'm sure you folks are hearing about that as well. We did have a couple of farms in our county that had tested positive. That was back in July. We all know that, well, I'm assuming we all know that it's a disease in birds caused by the influenza A virus. And then these viruses can just keep changing, and they become, different strains, and they can be, get worse, highly pathogenic strains. What do I want to say about that else? So we'll keep this a little bit shorter. The rest of the public so far is low. It hasn't so-called made that jump from birds, and now they've found it in some dairy cattle as well. Hasn't quite made that jump to people yet, and that's what we want to help to prevent, obviously. So some of what we're doing here at Public Health, we're trying to answer questions when folks call. We do, again, through MDH, we get some talking points so that we can have the right information to pass on to people. We also communicate with our emergency managers. I see Ace back here. So when we get communications through the Department of Health, we share them with our local emergency management. They're sometimes a little bit more involved with what's going on at some of the local farms. But what we're going to do this year is encourage the flu vaccine with the workers on some of the farms, the turkey farms and the dairy farms. There is no vaccine for H5N1 or the highly pathogenic avian influenza. But there is thought that vaccinating the workers with the seasonal flu, will provide protection against a seasonal flu that could also prevent dual infection with H5N1 and try to lessen the risk of that virus mutating. So we have currently reached out to some of our local, our bigger farms that have a lot of workers on the farms, the dairy and the turkey, to find out if we can go there. I mean, we're going to hopefully go to a number of these farms. We're working out the details right now, and to go out there and provide them with a flu vaccine. We felt this was an important piece, an important connection for us at Public Health. And the thought is if we go to them, we're more likely to get people to take the flu vaccine. So that's what our plan is. We're currently working with a number of different people to get that to happen.
Denise,
Yes.
Certainly as long as the bird or the animal is alive, I'm thinking more of the turkeys, their potential for infecting, doesn't end when it gets loaded on a truck. So there's potentially a lot of exposure to processing plants too as they're being process before they're euthanized, and maybe for a period of after that. Are you going to be visiting with that community as well?
I assume that now you're probably speaking of like at Genio at the plants. We have spoken with them because we are working with Genio for some of their farm sites. And they already do provide the flu vaccine, offer the flu vaccine for all of their folks there. So that isn't a spot that we will need to step into.
Yeah, Commissioner Gardner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Denise, thank you for this. Just also upcoming is the flu season coming up, and with that, folks are typically getting, at least seniors like myself, are getting the COVID vaccine either at the same time or maybe a little later. Some folks maybe don't like to take both in one shot. Is there any guidance on that for folks that anyone needs to be aware of? Is it better to just take them both in one trip or do it in separate?
No, absolutely. There's no harm in taking them at the same time. In
Mhm.
fact, yes, that would be a great idea to save yourself, because otherwise, I mean, that's always been our thought in public health. I mean, to never miss an opportunity, right? So
Mhm.
if you're coming into us, yes, we're going to get everything that you could possibly, or we're going to give everything that you could get on that day, because the chances are you might not come back. So absolutely, and there's no problem in having them both at the same time.
And the both the flu vaccine and the COVID-19 vaccine are updated periodically. And
Yep.
did I see that the COVID vaccine is basically to cover the latest strain from earlier this spring or early summer?
Yes.
And we had a little bit of a spike recently, correct?
Yes, we have. That was. I'm glad that you brought that up, Commissioner Gardner. That was my last thing. Is my plug for vaccine as we're coming into the flu season. COVID, not necessarily. I mean, they're not necessarily looking at a season for that. I mean, we want to worry about and vaccinate all year long for COVID. But for now, flu vaccine, absolutely. Anybody 6 months and older should get their flu vaccine. COVID is the same recommendation, 6 months and older. And then there's a third one that I just wanted to talk a little bit about, the RSV. RSV is a viral infection as well. And for most folks, it just looks like a cold. But for the very young and for the older adult, it can be much more serious. And particularly for the littles, really littles, it's the number one hospitalization for infants. So there is a vaccine out for older adults now. So if you're 60 and older, or well, 60 to 74, let's say, it's recommended for you if you have underlying health conditions, heart condition, lung condition, diabetes, that sort of thing. And for 75 and up, it is recommended for everybody 75 and up to help prevent that particular virus. I did also bring some information sheets on all three of those that I will leave in case anybody wants. They're what's called vaccine information sheets. We give this out every time we give a vaccine. So I have one on COVID and one on the RSV and one for flu. So if you would like these, one copy later, I can leave them here. For the little ones too, I guess the other thing I should point out is that the vaccine is also for pregnant women, so they can pass that protection on to the infant in the first early years, early months.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
So, any other questions or comments? Well, thank you very much for coming in and providing that update for us all at this sort of critical time as kids go back to school and
Yeah.
we're entering the fall season, that we have to be conscious of our immunization updates. So, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, up next, school, and then we'll take a break after this. School reunification report and video. Ace Bonamont and Kent Ballman, welcome.
Good morning. I'm Ace Bonham, the Emergency Management Director. And Chief Deputy Kent Bauman from the Sheriff's Office. So we've been asked to give an update on a project that we've been working hard on. It's called the School Reunification Program. In the event the school needs to evacuate for things such as a fire, gas leak, an active assailant, we need a plan to better help the school control the chaos.
So one of the things the sheriff's office has been doing, we look at it as a four-pronged approach. Our own training the school staff, training our EMS partners, and then, like Ace said, the reunification after the fact. So all of those things kind of play together into an incident, whether it's natural born or human created. And this was one lacking area that we reached out with emergency management to. We need to put more into that, and Ace delivered with that.
So before we go too far, we need to say that public safety's been working for a long time on on emergency planning for schools. And like Anthony and Mark from New London Fire, Ryan from Princeburg Fire, and Deputy Dave Holmquist have put a lot into emergency planning. Kent can talk a little bit more about the sheriff's office training programs.
So our training, we do it at least every other year, and some trainings they kind of blend different topics that get the same results. But we train our own staff on how we react to the worst of the worst type events, and we all probably know what that is. But then we also work with, like I said earlier, with our EMS partners. How can we incorporate them if there are casualties or injured persons to effectively get them out with some of our limited human resources, and having the staff be part of that as well. And the next part of that is, how do you get the kids safely to a safe spot and eventually reunify them with their parents or guardians?
So we're trying to tie all these pieces together, and I'm sure that commissioners can relate that schools have tight budgets, not enough time in the day, too many funded and unfunded mandates. So getting people to help with this can be a challenge. We know that during the day, the kids are the school's responsibility, but we also know that if the school's having a bad day, the community's having a bad day, and the county's having a bad day. So that's why working together makes sense. With the help of the Wilmer Area Community Foundation and the Wilmer Area Women's Fund, we were able to send a group from public safety, a few representatives from schools, and some public partners to some training hosted by the I Love You Guys Foundation. The I Love You Guys Foundation was a foundation created by parents who had a daughter who died in a tragic incident out in Colorado. Her last text was, "I love you guys." And so that's why they created the foundation and named it as such. And they now are a nationwide leader on school reunification plans. So we were also able to put together a video that schools can show to help educate parents on what to do if there's an emergency. And we'd like to show you that video quickly.
With local public safety for parents, guardians, and students to be reunited in the case of a school evacuation.
Events such as fire, flooding, active threats, or other emergencies could trigger an evacuation of the school. Public safety is working with our schools to develop plans in order to safely reunite parents and guardians with students if an off-site evacuation is needed.
Once the order is given to evacuate the school, the process of transporting students to a reunification area separate from the school will begin. Next, parents and guardians will receive an alert indicating where to go to start the reunification process. These alerts may be via text, phone, or wireless emergency alert, which is similar to an Amber Alert. It is important to keep your child's emergency contact information up to date with the school throughout the school year. This information will be vital to the reunification process. Visit the school's website or contact them for questions on how to update emergency contact information. Once you receive the message, parents should immediately go to the parent staging area with a photo ID. Not having your photo ID with you will slow down the reunification process. Keep in mind that the parent staging area and the reunification site may be in different locations, so it's important to follow the instructions. Additionally, due to space and safety requirements, these locations may be a distance away from the school. Do not call 911 for information, and remember, phone lines can quickly be overloaded. In an evacuation scenario, parents and guardians may become aware of a student's location through methods like text communication or GPS application, but it's critical that parents do not attempt to circumvent the process by traveling to the school or directly to their student's location, as this will only delay the reunification process and create complications and potential dangers. Additionally, attempts to communicate with students via text or phone calls is not recommended, as it may cause more confusion in an already stressful situation and in some cases could put students in danger. Once parents arrive to begin the reunification process, they will be met by a greeter and given a reunification card. They will fill out one reunification card for each student they are picking up. This reunification card will ask for things like the student's name, parent or guardian's name, and parent or guardian's cell phone number. It is important to fill out this information correctly and legibly. You'll be writing the same information on multiple parts of the card. Each part of the card plays an important role in the reunification process. Once you have the card completed, information will be verified, and you will be instructed on the next steps to complete the reunification. Remember, not having a photo ID will slow down the process. Once you and your child are reunited, it's important to greet them quickly and leave the site as soon as possible to ensure that the process continues quickly and effectively for all students, parents, and guardians. Crisis and grief counselors are available at the reunification site if needed. Our goal is to facilitate the safe reunification of parents, guardians, and students, and your role in following this process will help minimize chaos and confusion and help get students and parents back together quickly and efficiently as possible. This video was made possible with contributions from the Wilmer Area Women's Fund in partnership with the Wilmer Area Community Foundation and other community partners.
So we still have a ways to go to make sure everybody's on the same page, but I feel better knowing that there's a framework in place. If needed, we have a plan, and hopefully we never have to use these plans. I could talk about this for hours, but unless Kent has something to add, I think we'll open it up for questions.
Questions? Corky?
Just a comment. Excellent presentation. You know, I think too often we think of the sheriff's department and emergency management sitting around waiting for the next tornado or a train derailment. There's so much collaboration going on behind the scenes and so much planning. And it's really pretty cool to have our own local video of our community. And that's really a good message out there.
Large part of this is the education piece, even for the parents, and we know that's definitely an uphill climb and how we get this rolled out. But the sooner we get this messaging out in the different formats to do that, it'll always be some that will come to the scene where it's maybe not as planned, or we can strategize quite a bit. But the more we can send that message out in the various layers, the better response to the massive incident that it probably is to make it run more smoothly.
Administrator Baker.
Thank you for the presentation. Ace, do you want to talk about that kind of the walkthrough that we did a couple weeks ago and how many school districts were maybe in attendance? Ace and Chief Deputy did a phenomenal job, and other staff doing a walkthrough with school districts, cities, and other representation. CERT members were there. And I was just really proud to see it because Ace did a phenomenal job presenting this information. It's not an easy topic to discuss if something like this were to happen, but our staff did a really good job when they were there.
So coming back from the I Love You Guys Foundation training, we worked with our team and put together a program and basically did a show and tell for the schools. The schools, again, trying to get them to commit to sending people and stuff is very difficult. So we were really happy with the response that we received. We had all the schools represented from our area that I'm aware of, and then some surrounding communities as well. We also had our CERT team, our community emergency response team. They're force multiplier, like you saw in the Raymond train derailment. They were able to help us out right away, setting up shelters and stuff, and they'll play a big role in this reunification plan. We have little ID cards showing everybody what their job is, and on the back of the card, it'll tell them who they report to, and it'll give them a few of the steps. Because when an incident happens, the adrenaline goes up and the IQ goes down sometimes. So it's good to have a little reminder of what the different roles are. So during this show and tell, we were able to expose them to the plan, show them the video, and get them to further buy into the program, working together. So our hope is that we'll have a countywide school plan. Now, it might be that we're turning to page 3 for New London and 4 for Wilmer and 5 for Princeburg because they all have a little differences, but the framework is all the same. And if we need to, we can all work together. We're hoping to follow that up with some additional training next year and just continue to build on it and not train until we get it right, but train until we can't get it wrong.
Two things to add. We had 2 outside agencies that came to watch outside of Candioi County because this is a hot topic and it has been for years. When we first looked at all of the things that go into whether it's a natural disaster or a human created event, that we needed to deal with this, and we had given it to Ace, and he had done a phenomenal job with that. One of the things that Candioi County offers that these other agencies outside of Candioi County can't, they're scratching their heads on how to do that, is the CERT program. This summer, the Sheriff's Office started to partner on the CERT program with Wilmer PD and Emergency Management because we see that as such a big entity to our community. Everyone in the video, that, or almost everyone except for the fire department, wearing the fluorescent vests, those are all key parts of this, and that's also key parts that CERT plays. So that's a huge thing for us to be able to tap into. And other counties are now trying to get on board with what we're doing, but to try to look at their own resources and what could they possibly do. The final thing I want to say is when we looked at all of this, and we pushed it to emergency management that this needs to be in their area. Ace has done a phenomenal job with this. Deputy Holmquist, who's no longer with us, he's with the State Patrol. They started the groundwork on this, and Ace has maintained that throughout. And I just want to publicly acknowledge Ace's contribution, huge part of this to make it actually come to where we are today.
Thank you. I just wanted to add there are also other emergency managers from our region. Our region has 19 different counties. They also participated in the show and tell, hoping that we can try to encourage other counties as well to come up with the same framework and maybe eventually have a statewide plan in place for reunification. Any other questions?
Commissioner Gardner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Ace, and thank you so much for the presentation and for the hard work that obviously goes behind the scenes on this. You mentioned the CERT team, and are you holding more classes for that? Can you talk a little bit about opportunities for people to become involved in that?
Thanks for bringing that up. The CERT program currently is administered mainly by the Wilmer Police Department. They do have 2 Saturday classes. I believe it's the last Saturday in October and the first Saturday in November. So if you're interested, you can contact the Wilmer Police Department or go to their website and sign up for the CERT class. We need more CERT members. We need people from the community that look like the community. People that speak multiple languages are a huge asset for us. Denise can talk about the work that we did helping at vaccination clinics and stuff, and so it's a huge force multiplier for us, and we encourage people to sign up.
And just to follow up on that, what are some of the things, for example, that CERT team members may be involved in? And I assume that there are different opportunities for different folks.
Yeah, there's kind of something for everybody in the CERT program. The training is basically 2 Saturdays, what they're currently doing. And you can take the CERT training talking about emergencies, disasters, mental health after a disaster. Everybody gets to use a fire extinguisher and put out a fire, which is a fun part of the class. You can take the CERT class and just be done, or you can go on and become part of our CERT team. There's if we had a missing child, the community always wants to get out and help. And instead of just taking volunteers, we're going to use our CERT team first. If it comes down to needing the community to help, then the CERT team would be kind of team leaders and stuff. There might be somebody on the CERT team that's in my shape that doesn't need to be out digging through the woods and stuff like that, and they're better off registering people or serving coffee. There's also people that are in his shape that should be digging through the woods and going out and helping people. So there's kind of something for everyone. When we did the county fair, we had some people work in the booth and some people parking cars. We try to do monthly training. 1 month it's Wednesday night, I believe. The next month is a Saturday, so that depending on your work schedule, you can get there. You're not obligated to go to training. You're not obligated to go to anything. But if you get a text message, you can help. Then it's great. You can come out. That's why the more the merrier. So,
thank you so much.
Yeah, I think one of you was telling me about the train derailment where one person, probably was you, Ace, went and found a place for them to go, and one person went and gathered up water for the workers, and there was various supposedly menial tasks, but important tasks that needed to be taken care of to accommodate that response.
In any of these events, the one thing we know is law enforcement is probably going to be used up on a different status of dealing with things on the front end. So to fill these gaps in our response, CERT has been phenomenal in that. From the train derailment, we've done some search and rescue training, like Ace said. That there's so many requirements to make that run smoothly. We just don't have the staff to do that. But CERT brings that to the table and really fills that gap.
But the Raymond train derailment, I got the call and was told we need to evacuate the city of Raymond. Where do you want to go? My first thought from being down that way, I called two of our CERT members, happened to be my uncle and aunt. My aunt used to work at the school, so she knew everybody. She probably still had a set of keys. I don't know. But they had that shelter set up, so we got the command post out to the scene. And by the time we had that, they already had the shelter open. Time I got down there were certain people registering people. Law enforcement showed up to help, but it's like it was all in process. They made us look really good that day because it could have been more chaotic.
So, how unique is this relationship in this? Do a lot of other counties and communities have the CERT program?
There's not a lot in the state of Minnesota. It's kind of scattered. It was a nationwide program at one time, but then the funding went away. Um, I believe Stearns County used to have a pretty robust CERT program, but then once they lost their director or whatever, it went away. But for us now, and probably speaking out of turn because it is run by the police department, so I don't know their administrative thing. But we now have CERT members that are so gung ho that they've taken the CERT train the trainer class, so they're training the next groups, and so it's kind of becoming an autopilot thing. There's not a lot of cost, and some of those costs we get through donations. Um, and just like with the training room, we now know for donation management, people want to bring food in and stuff. We're going to work with the food shelf. So people can bring stuff to the food shelf because they know what they can take and what they can't. If there's a lot of food left over, the food shelf can get rid of it. And so our CERT people have now gone to work with the food shelf. And so it just kind of keeps trickling out in the community. So it's a huge thing.
So I want to go back to the reunification.
School reunification.
And that's not unique though. That's more across the state, right?
It's kind of unique in the fact that, I mean, some emergency management partners have said the kids are the school's problem. If the school has a problem, they can give us a call and we'll help where we can. In my opinion, that's too late. We don't need to be reactive. We need to be proactive. So we need to have this plan because we know that if the bad thing has happened, we can't just say it's a school problem because 911 phones are going to ring. We're going to have to send Kent and all his folks out, and they're going to be busy doing stuff. And so I think the average, correct me if I'm wrong, but from the time of bad guy at a school to the officers getting the bad guy, it's like 7 minutes. But in that 7 minutes, now you have all the kids going someplace else. You still have to search that school, make sure everything's okay. You still have multiple incidents happening. And having the parents get reunited with the kids, you may have kids that drive to school every day, and now that parking lot is blocked or evidence, and so those kids also need to get picked up by the school. So it's kind of unique. I think more and more are seeing that, hey, it makes sense to have a plan. And I think that by us having a plan, I know Rochester area, their emergency management has a huge plan for reunification. I think that it's eventually going to catch on that it's like, yeah, we need a plan too. Can we borrow yours and change the name from Canyon High? And that works for us because then we know what everybody's plan is.
So it'll be interesting. I just saw on the news this morning about new rules going into effect for cell phones in schools. And obviously, that's a way for a student to be communicating with their parents that, hey, I'm okay, or I'm out at the corner of the parking lot. I don't know how, well, I guess suppose it remains to be seen how that might.
Phones can be good and bad. I mean, it's good in that it reassures the person that the student is safe. Information gets out. People feel a little more emboldened if they know where their child is. To go, like the video said, to go right to their GPS location rather than what the described rules are to try to do this in an organized fashion. So each school, I think, has got a little bit of a different process, and if the phones have to stay in the locker, if they can't come in the building, or if there's a place to put them in the classroom, things like that. So we'll see once this all is unveiled as the school year now just started for everyone, what that's going to look like and how that layer affects this. But
And how you might respond to the new. So, and I can't, however it plays out, I can attest to the importance of that. We've all seen the news stories where the parents are extremely frightened, about where their child is. But even local, more local and less severe weather, every time a siren goes through New London, all of a sudden our family is getting a group chat. You guys okay? I heard an ambulance go by. And so it's not just when it happens at school, it's all the time. And so to the point of how important it is for parents to know that their kids are safe, or that at least there's a plan for keeping them safe.
the responsibility really falls on us as the government entity that we need to have a formulated, well thought out plan. We put it into a sample practice this summer, but there's still tweaks, obviously, that we'll make to it. But we need to be organized and have that response ready. I think we owe that to our community, obviously. So.
Well, Gary, very good. Thank you guys for coming in and for that very illustrative presentation. The video was great, by the way, to see how they responded. So, thanks.
Thank you, guys.
We will take a 5-minute recess.
I think they still got to stay together.
IT, are you ready?
We will reconvene the Kennesaw County Board of Commissioners. And next up on the agenda is the MnDOT 10-year plan, the Capital Highway Investment Plan, the CHIP plan, the report, I should say. So Megan DeShepper and Tony. We're going to tag team this. I didn't have Tony's name on the agenda, but welcome both of you and thanks for coming in. And thanks for your patience. We're running about 15 minutes behind, so appreciate it.
Anybody need any handouts or you guys got all your handouts? Some people like
If it's the
paper.
maps, we have those in our packet,
That's all I have.
Okay.
but we can take those later too.
Up to you if you want. Some people like the paper.
Look,
Good morning. Thank you for having us. As you guys said, I'm Megan DeShepper. I'm the planning director for District 8 out of Wilmer. And this is Tony Fowl. He's our program coordinator in our office as well. So we handle the 12 county region in Southwest Minnesota, but we're here to talk about projects in your county here for the next 10 years. And so just a reminder that the CHIP is our area transportation improvement program. Those first 4 years, so 2025 through 2028, those projects are scoped. We know how we're going to fund them. We pretty much know the start and stop locations, what type of fix it's going to be. However, those outer years are more fluid. So 2029 through 2034, we don't necessarily have all the money figured out how we're going to fund them. They're not fully scoped. We may not know the fix and the parameters of the project completely. So that's the difference between those early years are more set and the outer years are much more fluid. So as I said, I'll go through your county projects and feel free to stop me at any point if you have any questions or comments. So first we'll start in 2025. That's red on your map. And I also, did I send the county specific map, Mel? This one? You guys have that as well? Okay, so this is something new. We have a new GIS coordinator that created these county specific. It's kind of blowing up just on your county to kind of get those details of those projects. And so that's something new we just started this year with those maps.
So are we going off of that map, the county one, or?
They're the same. It's just easier to see, blowing up onto your space. Yes.
You do have copies we could have?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. If you'd like one. Every board's different. I know you got them
Everybody's
virtually,
different
but
too. Yeah.
some people like to hold them in their hands, and I get
They're a
that.
little small on our screen.
Sure. Yep.
Thank you, Tony.
Thanks, Tony.
Thank you, Tony. Okay, so for 2025, that's red on your map. We have a turn lane planned on Highway 23. This is northeast of Raymond on CSAH 1, and that'll be a left turn lane. And we also have another left turn lane over on Highway 71 at CSAH 3, so the Savea Road. Those are both with special funding that we got those left turn lanes for safety improvements. The next project on your map in red is on Highway 71 and 23. That's an unbonded concrete overlay. So it's southbound from the southerly junction of 23 to the Business 71 split, and then on Highway 23, a quarter mile west of CSAH 5 to US 71. We also have a snow fence project on Highway 23. This is up on the gaps from County Road Run 35 near Hawick to kind of southwest of Veterans Drive in Paynesville, some snow fencing to go in there. And lastly, in 2025 on Highway 40 in Wilmer by the Industrial Park, so this is east of the bridge that goes over the rail, a right and left turn lane project. And that's everything for 2025.
May I stop you there for just a second, Megan? 23 from Howick to Paynesville, you said snow fence, and by that you mean a living snow fence and trees? On here it says trees, so.
Yeah, they call them trees. It's shrubbery, like lilac or whatever. They try to do natural snow fencing, especially on some of that new part where some trees were removed and stuff.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Commissioner Burr.
Another follow-up too on the overlay for the bypass for a cement overlay. Could you just share for myself and the public too a little bit what's involved in a cement overlay versus the tar overlays?
Okay, so they're going to be scraping off. I'm not technical. They scrape off
Probably
the,
too.
those the top layer and they put down fresh, and so some of the cracks and things are smoothed out, and it's just for a smoother ride and better.
But it's concrete, not asphalt. That's going to be overlaid.
Yes, concrete.
Commissioner Gardner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Megan, on the item that you just mentioned, the uh, turn lane on Highway 40, is that in relation to the rail park project that we received some funding for getting truck access in from 40 into that potential rail park?
Yeah, so that was a project by the city of Wilmer for a TED grant. And so it's connected to the expansion of some development there in the park. And so specifically to get trucks in and out of that spur.
And so that is on the east of the bridge there, of the overpass?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks. Please proceed.
All right. We don't have any projects in 2026, but then in 2027, a big one, which I'm sure
I see one at Clear City, way down in the lower left there.
Oh, sure. So that's installing an LED stop signs at 7 and 23. So that will become an all-way stop.
But that would be in 2026?
Correct. Yes. I'm sorry. It's not in your county, so I didn't.
Oh, yeah. Well,
it's just outside.
You're right.
But you're right. Yes. That'll be another big project in that year. Okay. And then in 2027 on your map, which is the dark green, that's a big one, which you all are aware of and worked hard for, is the Highway 40, 23 and 9 interchange in New London. So thank you for your work on that. In dark blue, we don't have anything in 2028, but then the last year of our first 4-year plan in yellow, 2029 on your map, is on Highway 40. We're doing a reclaim and overlay, and that's from County Road 4 or Old 277 to Wilmer on Highway 40. And then we have another project on Highway 71. This is on the northbound lanes from the junction of 71, Business 71, I'm sorry, to the north junction of 23. And we're going to reconstruct and replace a bridge along that stretch of 71.
Mr. Chair,
I'm sorry.
if I may.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Megan, a little bit on the Highway 40. Is that going to be any type of widening or reclaiming shoulders, anything like that? That's a narrow road, and I think I mentioned this last year. I'm frankly surprised that that's a 60-mile-an-hour road. I was just recently up in the Brainerd Lakes area for a conference, and Highway 210 is 55. It's wider. I know they have a higher traffic volume, but it just seems to me that that is a potential issue with the narrow shoulders that we have on that highway. Can you address that at all? Are you going to be widening that out? Or?
Yeah, unfortunately, it isn't included on this project. We did apply for Minnesota Freight Program funding to add some shoulders along that stretch to kind of towards the dairies that are out there, and we were not successful in attaining that grant to add some shoulders. We do keep trying to find funding avenues for that because it's surprisingly expensive to add shoulder when there isn't already there, and especially when there's quite a few wetlands along there as well to work around. So it's something that we are aware of. We did do a shoulder widening study a few years back, but we simply haven't had funding successful for it yet. So at this time, this is just the existing lanes.
I appreciate that information. Thank you.
You may proceed. Yep.
Thank you. Next on our map is 2030. So that's purple on your map. We got some projects on Highway 12. Another big one you're probably aware of is on Highway 12 from 11th Street to 6th Street in basically through downtown Wilmer. And that's a cold in place, recycle, and medium mill and overlay. And they'll also be doing some ADA work through that stretch. And then the other project on 12, and this is bridge work 2 miles west of Atwater, the bridge that goes over the BNSF line out there. That bridge will be scarified and overlaid. And those are the two projects in 2030. In 2031, kind of the maroon shade on your map, on Highway 12, we have another project. So this will be on the east side of Wilmer, from 6th Street southeast to just east of 23rd Street on the east side of town. And that's a medium mill and overlay. Another project in your county is on Highway 9, and this would be from Highway 23 to US 71. So a medium mill and overlay, and that would go through New London.
And I'm sure that's where you widen the shoulder. It's on 9 going from New London up to 71.
We also don't have funding for that. That would also
They're that
be,
wide right now, just
yes,
so you know.
yes. No, that would be a, yeah.
There's hardly any wetlands you have to worry about out there.
No steep slopes either, right? No. And so those are the two projects for fiscal year 2031. Next, in 2032, that's kind of a light pink color on your map. On Highway 7 from US 71 to Minnesota 4, full depth reclamation project. Also in 2032 on Highway 71 from Highway 23 to just south of 7, a medium mill and overlay project.
Go ahead.
So, do you guys reevaluate these as time goes on? Because like 71 looks kind of bad. I don't know. But to me, it looks like it wouldn't last that long, but you reevaluate every year.
Yes, especially these
Up or
outer
down.
years. We get reports every year on our pavement. And depending on our funding and how things are holding up, they do get switched around, especially those outer years.
Okay.
So, I mean, those last 2-3 years could be vastly different next year. And then the final year, 2034, it's light blue on your map, on Highway 9 from US 71 out to Sunburg, a medium mill and overlay. And then also on 9, a half mile north of Highway 23, the bridge right in New London there over the pond, scarify and overlay that bridge. And those are all the projects in our 10-year plan for your county.
Any questions for MnDOT folks here? Commissioner Bird.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. How does this fit in with, it seems like there's a lot of projects lately and more going down the road. Have we had an increase in infrastructure projects like this, like in our Region 8 in the last several years or going forward?
Well, we've gotten some special funding with support of the county, and some of the corridor projects. Certainly, we're above and beyond our normal program, so that is bringing more activity to our area for sure.
If I may follow up.
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, they really kind of coordinate with a lot of the county plans as well. So really appreciate what you're doing on this update. It's really kind of handy to have. A lot of people ask us about the different roads and what's happening, and they think, well, is this a county road or who's doing this? And now we can put it all together for them.
Yeah.
The trick will be finding that document.
I do have a special stack at home, but at least family and friends always ask stuff.
Sure. We do have a projects page that is very helpful. That's District 8 specific, and you can click on the projects. They'll even give you detour updates, and that's updated weekly. So especially if somebody has something that's beyond our paper map, that is a resource for you
I
guys.
just experienced that on Saturday with a phone call about one of our intersections, and it was a blow through by a semi again. And I was looking for my map that Mel gave us less than a month ago, and I dug for it, but I didn't find it. So it's usually not there when you need it, but you can go find it someplace. So Commissioner Anderson.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Chair. So what is that website that we go to? Is it like MnDOT or something? Or?
Yeah, I can send it to Mel, and he can share that link with you all. I go to it often myself because I live in the future. I don't live now.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Dale Anderson.
I guess on some of your further out projects, I have real concern that they aren't going to make it. Just like what Dwayne was saying, So let's say a couple roads that are on these further outs just fall apart. So can you push them ahead, or how do you work the funding to make that all happen? I mean, some of these are pretty big road lengths that you got to do. So I was just wondering how you handle that if a road does kind of fall apart prematurely.
Sometimes we have to do a preventative maintenance type of project, so our own maintenance folks go out and do some kind of Band-Aid fixes to get us a few more years until we can get the funding, because sometimes we really can't move the funding around. In that 4 year, it's very difficult to do sometimes.
I think you just did that on Highway 9 from New London to Highway 71. There was some patching going on where some of the wheel traffic is, and
Sure.
it's intermittent. It's not the entire way, but yeah. Otherwise, they take funding away from Highway 71 North going up towards Belgrade.
It's doing good so far. I ain't gonna complain.
Well, thank you guys for the presentation and the information, and look forward to your next presentation.
Thank you.
All right, up next is the cooperative construction agreement. Mr. Odens.
Chair, members of the board, Mel Odens, Public Works Director, Kansas County. I've got 4 agenda items, all consecutively. The first one is what we would refer to the Wilmer Avenue project in the city of Wilmer. It is $1.5 million project that we did in conjunction with the city. It is one of our local option sales tax that we're doing this year. And it extends from basically the stadium on the west side of town, 22nd Street, all the way to the bypass or the ramps on the east side of town. And so what we did is we do a co-op construction agreement with the city, and they have adopted this, I believe, at their last city council meeting. And so it's on your agenda to consider adoption or signature today by the chair, the auditor, and also the county attorney. So what it involves with the city costs are sidewalks, storm sewer, traffic signal loop detectors, curb and gutter, and then we have the bulk of the project. So, Mr. Chair, I would open up for questions.
Any questions for Mr. Odens?
Mr. Chair, I so move to approve the cooperative construction agreement as presented.
Commissioner Berg moves on the cooperative construction agreement. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Commissioner Gardner seconds. Any other questions or comments for Mr. Odens? Commissioner Berg.
Just a question. It looks like it's really coming along faster now.
Yeah, well, yes. Well, we lost a week, but yeah. So tomorrow they plan to pave from First Street to Kennedy School, get that completed. And then they're going to move into what we call phase 3, which is, we maybe don't want to talk about that, but it's the easterly piece. They're going to pave that, and then they're going to pave through the industrial park. Then they're going to start milling from Kennedy School out, and they're going to plan to stay in town until it's all milled and paved. So hopefully by the end of next week, we should be a lot further along than we are today.
All right, if there are no further questions, I'll call for a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right.
So the next 2 actually are very similar. They both go right hand in hand with what you just heard from MnDOT. And the first one is a turn lane at County Road 1 on Highway 23. And what we're doing is we're agreeing to use our County Road 5 as the detour for Highway 23 for a portion of next year. And I don't know the exact dates or the working days on that, but because it's not let yet, but it'll be sometime, probably about an 8-week period next summer. And so the detour would be down our County Road 5, over on 3 up through Raymond is what the detour would be. And
as you can see, the process they use is the useful life road impact, or that's how much of the useful life of that road is consumed, and the amount would be $70,345.79. And then what the state does also is they do the maintenance on the road while it's under detour. So with that, Mr. Chair, I would recommend authorizing the chair and the administrator to sign on behalf of the county.
So you've heard staff regarding resolution 2024-26. I entertain a motion for approval of that resolution.
All right, Mr. Chair, I'll make that motion.
Commissioner Dwayne Anderson moves. Do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
Commissioner Dale Anderson seconds. Any further discussion or comments? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. You may move on.
And then the next one is a very similar one, but they're going to do a detour on Highway 71 at our County Road 3, the demographics turn. And once again, they're going to be using County Road 5 as the detour. So we'll be using 5 as a detour for both projects. And that's the road life consumed on that project is $43,751, and we would be reimbursed upon completion of that project as well.
So you're recommending?
My recommendation is to sign this agreement on behalf of the county and authorize the chair and the administrator to sign.
So you heard staff recommendation on resolution 2024-27.
No,
Or 26, I'm sorry.
the previous one is actually 25.
Correct.
Did I say 26 on that previous one?
I think you did.
I think it's fine. You approve the resolution.
Okay.
It's
I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make that motion, Mr. Chair.
So Commissioner Dwayne Anderson moves. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Commissioner Gardner seconds. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Now we're to 27.
Yep. Now we're resolution 2024-27. This is a excess property vacation. When they redid the roads around Green Lake in 99 and 2000, they straightened curves out and they did a variety of road adjustments. And we don't actively go and vacate property until it's under a request. And so as we get requests, we do them consistently or uniformly. And we got a request by Ryan Kuzman to request a vacation of a portion of the old right-of-way. And we had bought right-of-way where the current road is, and we're keeping a 70-foot road right-of-way through the east side on the Indian Beach side. So, which is consistent with the entire road corridor. So our recommendation is to vacate that portion of the old right-of-way. And so what we do when we get a vacation request is we go out there and the utilities, Kenway Power, our water and sewer district stuff is all at the 35-foot line or where the vacation line would be. So we put it where we basically would assume in the future somebody would vacate from that point out. Does that make sense? I mean, so the utilities are in the right location. So we have no issue with it. We're checking the boxes. We're good with it. So my recommendation is to authorize the vacation of a portion of Old County Road 95, labeled Track B in here, and authorize the appropriate, the chair and administrator to sign on behalf of the county.
You heard staff recommendation. I'd entertain a motion to proceed.
Also moved.
Commissioner Dale Anderson moves. Do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
Commissioner Dwayne Anderson seconds. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. All right, up next, 2025 budget update. Administrator Baker.
Good morning, Kelsey Baker, Candioi County Administrator. Before you in your packet today, I have just a little recap and an update on the 2025 budget. What I included in your packet is just a reminder of what we are focusing on for our 2025 budget that I presented on at the August 20th meeting. And then I really just got straight to the point. For the 2025 proposed levy, I presented two options that we have for discussion today, because we will vote, or you will vote on the final preliminary levy at the September 16th board meeting. And so based off the last discussion at the August 20th meeting and fine tuning some of the numbers, such as the health insurance numbers, some staffing changes, some quasi-government changes, we reduced the budget from the August 20th meeting to today. It was $327,300. So that got us to the 7.7 preliminary levy. The second option I have included in your board packet would be not fully utilizing that 3 million, that 3.645 landfill project. We would only be utilizing 3.5 million from the landfill reserves, and that would get us to the 8% preliminary number. I've heard from some commissioners that maybe we would like to start out a little bit higher for our preliminary, and then when you approve the final, we're able to have some wiggle room, fine tune some numbers. Some things that are still on the table would be if we were to receive any other quasi-governmental requests, the Board of Commissioners wages, I did add the 3% back in to the Board of Commissioner wages for 2025. And then the extension position, that office manager position, if it will be a county employee or if it'll be an extension employee, the board hasn't finalized that. So going with the 8% does allow some wiggle room. It doesn't allow a lot as much. It doesn't allow as much as that 8.5%, obviously. And so it'd really be up to the board today to provide some guidance if you were more comfortable with that 8.5%, or if you are more comfortable with the 7.7, or if you want to fall in the middle right at 8. And so I'm looking for some feedback to where the board is coming in at.
Commissioner Gardner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Kelsey, thank you for this. This is, like you said, pretty straightforward at this point in time. We're not making a final decision on anything here. I'm more comfortable with us staying where we were at. I can see from what you've given us today that we're going to have some room now and as we go through the fall into December before we finalize things. But sometimes we get surprised. And so I think it's prudent that we just stay informally at this 8.5% for now, knowing that the consensus, I would believe, of the board would be that we certainly want to come in below that, but we need the factual basis for doing so, and there's no harm in at our next meeting certifying something in that area, and then with the idea that we're going to continue to attempt to do right by the taxpayers and bring that down the most responsible way we can.
Thank you. Any other comments? Commissioner Burgess.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The biggest difference in bringing it down would be using landfill reserves, the way I understand.
Correct.
And in doing that, most of those are aimed at one-time projects. And most of those projects are connected with the landfill, or can you explain that a little bit more, just generally again, because you don't have the detailed thing, and I don't want to get too far into the details, but and where I'm kind of going with this too is these projects that's used within the landfill, or some of these projects are one-time projects, are probably projects that we had planned or budgeted for anyway down the road. We're just doing it a little bit earlier with reserves to keep this down. Am I correct?
Correct.
So
Yep.
This doesn't really, okay.
Yeah, so to answer your question, the cell construction is that's the big ticket item, that 2.7 million project that we do every 4 years. We do a cell construction project out at the landfill to maintain what we're doing and to follow in the guidelines with the state regulations. And then the heavy equipment was on our capital improvement plan as well. And so that was 880,000. We have used in the past the landfill reserves regarding the general levy as well. We might spend that down because we earn and we make money within the landfill. With utilizing the landfill reserves, this is a one-time expense with the cell construction and the heavy equipment. And so I think talking with Karen Anderson and Gary Gear, the director, we do feel comfortable utilizing that amount within the landfill reserves. We have a good balance in the landfill, sanitary landfill account with the cash and investments. And so we feel really comfortable with utilizing those dollars.
Go ahead.
If I may follow up, thank you. And then also, actually, the net levy increase that we're looking at is it still, my understanding, is mainly going towards salary.
Correct. And that's really any county budget. A lot of it goes towards
More
a
for
good majority of our county budget. And I could probably say for private entities as well, goes towards health insurance and payroll.
Other comments?
Mr. Chair, thank you. I think I just expressed a feeling for the whole board too, as well. First off, Commissioner Gardner, I think you have an excellent idea to keep it at that higher level and not knowing what's coming up. But also, I think we're all croak about this is a big increase for us, as you know. We all know, and the public knows we've kept it really low over the years, and it's really hard to do because this increase really hits a lot of the people. A big percentage of the people, I'm not sure how big exactly, but that harder than other people. So it's not across the board. Everybody's taxes would be going up, say 8%, or 8. It's certain. It varies after that, and so some people are getting really hit hard with these, especially when you hear the city and other organizations are raising their levies as well. So we're not alone in this, doing this, but it does bother us. I just want to share that. It is a concern, but I think it's something we have to do.
And I'll fall in line with the same sentiment that I think we're safer staying at the 8.5 that we talked about last time because we still have the opportunity to shave some areas or discover some opportunities. I don't think anybody will be surprised given what's happened with workforce issues in the last 3 years and the adjustments we've had to make to remain competitive both in our wages and our benefits. And from operating a retail establishment, when we have a price increase to us, whether it's through the wages or cost of goods or insurance, our taxes, if we don't pass that on, sooner or later we're going to be in a deficit and we won't be in existence for very long operating that way. So while it's difficult and the cumulative effect is certainly noticeable, we have to be prudent and staying responsible for covering our costs. So I guess that's my opinion is that we can always make the changes later. For now, probably leave it at for my part, leave it at the 8.5. All right. Unless anybody else has any further comments, did you have anything else that you?
Nope, I have a good direction unless the other two commissioners agree, disagree. I will present the numbers at the Monday, September 16th meeting. I will always come with two options just in case there's a panic moment and the board wants to do something different. But I will come with two options, but I will come with that 8.5% that will be within the board packet. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So as Administrator Baker makes your way back to the dais, just a reminder, our fall policy conference is next week at Arrowwood. And our next board meeting is Monday, September 16th. Same hour, same place, but on Monday, not on Tuesday, for the next meeting. And with that, we'll go into reports. Are you ready? Administrator Baker. You're not? Okay. Dale?
I just had a couple of them. On the 22nd, I went to the sexual harassment thing that the county put on. Really kind of interesting. She packed a lot of information in an hour. I was just kind of going, holy smokes, as she was talking. She really put a lot of stuff into it. It was good to see everybody attending. Actually, I got a tour of the jail afterwards. So that was kind of cool. I had never been in that building that I remembered. So it was kind of fun to walk through and see the law enforcement center and the jail. And very interesting and kind of cool to see how that building is all hooked in with the Wilmer Police Department. That's probably the biggest thing I didn't realize is that it's all housed at the same place. The only other thing was we had an extension committee meeting at down in the cities for AMC, and very interesting things going on in extension. A lot more use of extension throughout the state and throughout our county, I think. People have just gotten more engaged in learning about different projects between master gardeners, some of the crop stuff, and actual 4-H itself. It kind of amazes me how much more interest there's been after COVID. It seems like it's really taken off in the last couple of years. So the other thing that they were talking about, and I wanted to bring up, and it was asked to bring up, was they want to do a complete remodel of the 4-H building at the state fair. And it's a $35 million project to remodel that building. State Fair owns that building, and 4-H and Extension have to maintain the inside of it once this remodel is done. So if anybody at all, I mean, it doesn't have to be anybody special or anything. If it's $100, $10, it doesn't matter. You can donate money through the Extension Endowment Fund or the State Fair Endowment Fund, and they're both available on websites. So I think it's kind of a good time and a good thing to do. It was built back in the 30s. It's a solid building. It's a good building. We got to tour it when we were there and kind of look at some of the things they were looking at doing. But I think it needs an update, and I think it will be a good thing. They're looking at trying to use that building year round. Now it's basically only used for the fair. To hold some camps there and to hold some events throughout the year instead of just using it the few days of the fair. So I think it's a good project, and I think it's something that if you have a heart for that, and Dwayne and me were talking about beforehand that we all probably stayed in those buildings if we were involved in 4-H, and they still have the old folding chairs that I think are original from the 30s. Some of them left in the dining hall. I thought that was kind of cool. So there's some real history there and some real memories that were made back if you were involved in 4-H in your lives. So something just to consider, but that's all I have.
All right, Commissioner Gardner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to take note of the AMC board retreat that myself and Commissioner Imdek attended last week. And I want to publicly thank your lovely bride, Judy, for helping me out. Somebody forgot to pack the charger for my hearing aids. So I went through the first day working really hard to hear very little. And she happened to have a charger that fit mine and saved the day for the second day there. So I greatly appreciated that. Thank you, Judy. The West Central Industries Board meeting was basically the only thing of note that I attended between meetings. Everybody was kind of, I think, in vacation mode and state fair mode by that point in time, but we'll be picking things up. I want to take note of several items that are happening around the community of note. First one is I believe it's Thursday, rural housing presentation by Ben Winchester. This is in collaboration with the League of Women Voters, Hot Topics. And that will be at the Wilmer Public Library from 12:15 to 1:15. They have this as a monthly series. I've been able to participate in that in the past. And of course, Ben is going to be, he's I believe, an economist with the University of Minnesota Morris and so forth. And he's going to talk about the situation we have with rural housing right now. That'll be on Thursday. Welcoming Week in the city of Wilmer is going to take place on Saturday the 14th. downtown over by the city offices, I believe, and that'll be from 2 to 6 p.m. That's an annual event and celebrates the diversity within our community. Check that one off. The Hot Creek Animal Shelter, Humane Society of Candy, Ohio, and Meeker Counties, has been around for 50 years now, and they're going to celebrate that on the 28th, Saturday, the 28th. There will be a dog walk event that will be a fundraiser piece. And there will be a picnic after that, and you can find out more on their website at dhskmc.org. I want to say it's org. I might be wrong. And then, of course, we have the AMC policy conference next week that we're all going to be at, and I don't see anything else. I believe that's it.
Thank you, Commissioner Burton.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is a short time between our two meetings with the Labor Day in there. I did not have a lot of meetings, which is kind of nice for a change. After the last board meeting, though, I did have Prairie Lakes Youth Program board meeting, and Administrator Baker was able to attend that and was very helpful to be there because we spent some time talking about going forward with Prairie Lakes and what's going to be happening. Prairie Lakes is proceeding to remodel the building next to the boys group home they have now for the kids to go to. And that opens that up what to do with the current building we have as far as classes and where the fire was. There was quite a nice discussion we had about the insurance and what we're going to do with the insurance. And right now the insurance is handled and paid for by Prairie Lakes program, but it really impacts the building. We really own the building. So part of the discussion was to turn that over and the follow to that to the county, and Administrator Baker is going to be following up on that and having that all checked out about what the expense would be, what has to be done, and what our options are. And we'll be coming back to the board about that. And we'll also be coordinating this with Dr. Booth with Prairie Lakes program as well moving forward. But they have enough to handle without worrying about that building and the school things. And just for everybody's information, the school is having classes in the REACT building, and they set that up there for the students. So it's working out, I think, hopefully well, and as a temporary thing, the way I understand. And just from history in that, a long time ago, the adolescent day treatment program, we worked to get that into the schools, and that's where they had that. And it did work out for quite a few years, but they stopped it for some reason, and I don't remember what that was about. I did have a video conference with the regional area. It's not a committee. I'm officially assigned to by the county board here, but also I just want to let the board know I'm involved in that. Sitting on the committee for the area region agency on aging for the grants that they give out. And we're talking about going over those. There's going to be maybe some cuts to make and changes this year compared to other years, but it's a new process of how we evaluate all those programs. And that'll be coming up in next month. So as I just would don't have any more to add, but I would like to kind of give some kudos to, and being Labor Day, I'm thinking of all the people that end up working not only on Labor Day, but the things they do we just take for granted on, and especially government workers. And after our storm on Thursday, we just take for granted a lot of this stuff happens. But you know, the Canada County Public Works they're out there. I won't say late at night, but late at night, cleaning up the campgrounds and trees that are down. And I'm sure in the cities throughout the county they are. I know I had a lot next to our house, and a big branch came down, and it was on the boulevard. And I'm going, oh no, what am I going to do with this now? And I got up the next morning, it was gone. So kudos to everybody that's public works from all the different kinds of agencies throughout our county. What they've done was very appreciative, and cleanup is moving along fast. But there apparently was a lot of damage taking place.
Commissioner Dwayne, thanks. Commissioner Berg, Commissioner Dwayne Anderson.
Yep. So I had several meetings in the last couple of weeks. One was Drug Free Coalition. Went to the meeting, and the one that used to be the director for it or that ran it was Jessica Johnson, but she's moved on. She works for Renville County now, so they got a good one from us. But we got another one that stepped in her place. He's been there before at these meetings. Jeremy Radke, he's also got a lot of talent too. So that's one of the unfortunate things when you have people working for the county or the area, I guess. And you got people of talent, they can kind of move up in this world, and they get taken away from us once in a while from another county. So maybe we'll see her back when we take her back. So um, I also went to a HRA tour with Jill Bankston. I think that was last week. And so she brought us through Candy, Ohio, and the city of Atwater, and just showed us different projects that have been going on with the county for housing. And it was kind of interesting. It was buildings that I didn't know that they were HRA projects, and so you find out how they came to be, and that was kind of interesting. I had an AS task force meeting last week, and then also I met with Big Candy Ojai Lake Association last Saturday. It's really interesting to hear what people are doing, and they're trying to do a lot for very little, and they always try to catch carp in Candy Lake, and we always find out, well, different things always foil their plans, and they had a lot of carp trapped, but I guess I think it was an otter wrecked their net. So a whole bunch of carp got to escape with the aid of an otter. So that was my meetings. I just want to put in a little plug. This weekend in Atwater is Atwater Threshers Show. It's very interesting to see how people did things in the past, and I encourage people to go there. That's this Saturday and Sunday, September 7th and 8th.
All right, Administrator Baker.
I have two things. The space study, Wold Architects and Engineers was able to add in Prairie Lakes Youth. We're not really sure what that space study will look like, but they did add it in at no cost just for it to have a board update. Our contact that we'll be working with Wold was on vacation, so we're hopefully going to get something scheduled this week or next week. And then I'll send out an email to all county employees to kind of give an update of where we're at and what's going to happen. And then I believe Commissioner Burke really touched on the Prairie Lakes Youth Update. As you mentioned, I'll be working with Holly on meeting with some other groups, and hopefully we'll have a recommendation or kind of more of a direction to move forward at the September 16th board meeting, because then the next Prairie Lakes Youth Board meeting will be September 18th. So we're hoping to be able to present some options and a path forward. If not, it'll be at the first meeting in October.
Okay, so again, because I'm last, I don't have to cover everything, but I'm gonna add a little something to what Commissioner Gardner said. But before I do, as long as we're talking about events, it's Thursday night this year, not a Friday night. Prairie Under the Stars out at the Prairie Woods Environmental Learning Center is their major fundraiser of the year. I don't know if tickets are even available, but if you have a ticket, make sure you attend, because if you don't, you could get that ticket to someone else. So a great event. And then the next day is Prairie Pothole Days, also it used to be at the Strand Farm, right at the intersection of right by Three Sisters. But now it's going to be at Prairie Woods Environmental Learning Center this year, so it'll be a new event for them, and we'll see what the future holds there. But I think they're excited about both entities are excited about having that out there. Then to add on to what Commissioner Gardner said, at the State Association of Minnesota Counties Board Retreat, one of the fairly long discussions that they had, and I think all counties, Dwayne said something about people moving on because they get better jobs and better salaries, better offers. We're at a really critical point at the Association of Minnesota Counties with our staff. They talked a lot about the policy staff. We got about 8 of them that are policy members, but really includes all the staff. And I think those of you who have worked with Matt Hilgart or Nathan Zacharias, or Emily, or anybody you've worked with, realize how valuable the work they do is for counties. And so um, I think we're going to end up having to make a recommendation to increase the dues from each county. Uh, it'll make a big impact to the AMC and the staff, but a relatively modest impact on our budgets. So you'll hear more about that probably at either at fall. Yeah, I think we're going to have a presentation at fall policy about it. It's a real serious matter because we can't afford to lose some of those people. Then on the 26th was the monthly Glacial Lake Sewer Sanitary Sewer and Water District, and there's kind of a lot going on out there with the construction of 13 million plus construction project is going on, and I hate to belabor this too much. It's going to be a little more expensive to the users of that system than it should be because of the lack of a bonding bill. And had a chance at the state fair to visit both the House and the Senate's booth in the education building, and visited there about the importance of bonding and bipartisan support for bonding bills because that's what really helps our districts. Um, and then I was on the same HRA tour. There's another one tomorrow for Kenny New London and Pennock, I think, tomorrow to see the buildings. And then last Thursday evening, I got an email from Colleen Langkammer, who is the state director for the USDA Rural Development Authority in Minnesota. She was visiting New London um, to see the new city hall, the new library, and then they also visited the link. And so staff from the local office, Jeff Van Buren, city staff, and then Senator Tina Smith's aide from Moorhead, Jordan Schroer, were also there to see. So you may or may not know this, but rural development was very instrumental in the new city hall and library at New London, as was Senator Klobuchar, who one of the first earmarks she gave out was $600,000 for the library in New London. So they got to come and see those for the first time, and I was invited to join them. And then I took an opportunity at her encouragement to make a drive about in the northern part of the county of some of the developments like North Point and where the bridge is going to go at New London and the Water and Sewer District and Prairie Woods Environmental Learning Center. So we spent about 2.5 hours doing a drive about. So that's all I have right now. And we're going to adjourn and then talk about lunch. So we are adjourned.